make a start. So, firstly, welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. Hopefully we're going to keep it. One moment, sorry. I'll mute that. We're going to keep it nice and chill. So if you have any questions throughout, just either pop a message in the box or stick your virtual hand up. I think you can do that. And yeah, we can just chat. So don't feel afraid to get involved because we want to hear from you. So essentially, who's going to be speaking today? So we have Sarah, who is the Global Operations Manager. I think that's right. Yeah, perfect. For FutureSense Foundation. So she's just going to chat to us a little bit about the work that FutureSense do and why fundraising is so important at the minute and the impact that it has. And we've also got Lizzie, who you should all kind of know by now. She's just going to talk a little bit more about the support that us as Challengers Abroad are going to be offering this year. And then me, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my fundraising journey. And I've put together some top tips for you and a few different ideas of what you could get up to during these really weird times. So yeah, I love fundraising, but I didn't think I could bore you all for a whole hour. So yeah, I've roped in these two. So if Sarah, would you like to start? Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
thanks,
so
Jordan.
FutureSense Foundation.
It's good to meet you all. It's fun that we've started to kind of bring in a little bit more collaboration between Challenges Abroad and FutureSense. Although, of course, you all know that the work that you're doing is to support the FutureSense Foundation, to kind of be able to engage with you a little bit earlier on in the process, I think has been really exciting for the foundation side of it, and hopefully will be really beneficial and informational for you all to learn a little bit on the front end about who you're fundraising for and why it's important. So hopefully I can give you a pretty good overview of who we are. But like Jordan said, I'm the Global Operations Manager with FutureSense, which means that I'm actually supporting all 6 of our in-country teams around the world to make sure that their programs, their hub operations, and their volunteer support is all top-notch. But prior to that, and since 2016, I was our country operations manager in Cambodia. So I was in charge of making sure that everything in the Cambodia hub was running smoothly and that everybody had what they needed to be successful, including our partner engagement and community relationships, in-country team staff support, and of course volunteer support and engagement. So a little background on who FutureSense is. We've been a charity now. The foundation had its 10-year last year in 2019, and as an international development charity, we are supporting, like I said, 6 countries around the world. The more disadvantaged communities within those countries. So we're not kind of in the economic centers of each of those countries. We're a little bit more rural. We're a little bit more in communities where there's either a large amount of poverty or there are communities within that area that are kind of more at risk to being in poverty or are experiencing poverty. And so part of our mantle is to connect with these communities and provide some programs that are supporting education initiatives, health and livelihoods initiatives in a number of different ways. And that's all to support the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So that's something that we'll talk about a bit when you're in country, and kind of want you to experience a little bit more hands-on in terms of becoming a global citizen and just learning about who you are as part of the global scene. And so really just committed to a number of those goals. They all do interact quite a bit, but really wanting to touch on the major ones of health, education, and livelihoods. And so the way that we do that is largely based with volunteer, both in fundraising for what you guys are doing, but then also in the way that we do our delivery of those programs. So utilizing volunteers in country has really allowed us to increase our capacity. So our in-country teams are there all year long, which really does set us apart from other volunteering organizations. We have established teams that are working in country throughout the year, building and maintaining all of the relationships with our partners, and also just really working with them to understand what are the key needs in the community, and what are the best solutions that we could be providing, either with our volunteers and our volunteer-based programs, or from a larger perspective, such as potentially more funded projects that really support the aims and goals of our programs. So as you can imagine, during this time of COVID and travel and our programs being paused, fundraising being paused, we've really had to kind of go into just re-strategizing who we are and what we do, and really looking at how do we continue to engage our communities when a really large part of our program delivery isn't available. And so we've been really reflecting on who we are as a foundation and how we engage our communities. And it's been a really exciting and challenging time in country, having conversations with partners, schools that have been closed, different challenges economically and obviously health related, but even within education and certainly within livelihoods, that our communities are facing in very different ways, all for the same reasons. And so really having to adapt our strategies and how we engage and how we continue to still see positive impact when we don't get to have that classic program delivery like we would in a normal year, where we have volunteers. And so we're really addressing these programs and how we can make them more beneficial. And so we're really looking at building more central global programs that really still focus on those same 3 initiatives, and building those out and supporting our programs from a more centralized position where we're giving a lot of information and resources to all of our in-country teams who can then adapt it and really deliver it either with volunteers or as a team in country. And so they can really continue that engagement, of course, when it's safe to do so. And looking at how we can engage the community from a safe and healthy perspective. And so really looking at our risk assessments and how we can ensure that once it is safe to bring volunteers over, how are we still ensuring the safety of our communities as well as your safety, of course. And so we really just want to make sure you guys kind of understand that fundraising is actually one of our main sources of funding for the programs. So 90% of all fundraised money goes toward our program. So that goes to everything that's happening in country to ensure that our communities are being engaged with. There is impact happening there. And that includes being able to measure that impact, report back on that impact, connect with those partners, as well as supporting those projects that the volunteers get to do when it's safe to come back and do so. But that's also allowed us to continue to engage our communities even during this time of being shut down. So being able to come up with alternative solutions for engagement, such as a few of our different teams around the world have been able to build out some at-home worksheets for students who aren't in school. And so they've been able to engage in kind of more fun, interactive activities and worksheets that they might have kind of gotten similar to interactions that they would have had with volunteers. But instead they're doing it at home on a worksheet, but still getting to do some type of education when their schools have been closed. In other countries, we've had teams who are doing little pop-up classrooms in the community, partners and FutureSense staff kind of working together to still engage young students in their learning in a very little socially distanced and masked way. And so we've gotten pretty creative in how we can try and engage the community. A lot of health promotion posters and other things too, to also engage the local community. So we're still able to work during this time, and we're really grateful for that opportunity. But in order to really see forward progression and to really expand on some of those things, fundraising is ultimately where all of that comes from, and the ability to kind of build that back out and build up our teams again to really engage the community on a larger scale. And so the fundraising for that is really how that happens. And so we really want to engage you guys and kind of what that means, what that looks like, the types of projects that you would be supporting, both while you're in country and before you get there. I know sometimes it's hard to fundraise for something that you kind of can't contextualize, and it's hard to see, but that's where we hope that you can have been following along with us throughout the COVID time, seeing kind of some of the stuff that we've been up to, engaging in dialogue, asking questions, and just kind of seeing what happens on the ground as best as possible. I feel like I've blabbed a little bit. I kind of want to reel it back and just see if there's any core questions that have popped up during this time, and then I can kind of wrap up anything that I've missed from Lizzie and Jordan, if there's a couple things that they'd want me to touch on before I hand it back over. Any questions that you guys have so far about who we are, what we do?
That's perfect. Thank you, Sarah. That was very...
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just think maybe, Sarah, it would be helpful to have some examples of ongoing work, maybe in Peru, Thailand, Cambodia, or in all countries, which our fundraisers can take away from this and say, I've just seen this webinar and FutureSense are currently working on this, and it hopefully inspire us all to get on with our fundraising.
Absolutely. I think the biggest one right now is that we're really gathering a lot of information to kind of restructure and rebuild our programs so that they're even more impactful. And by that, I mean, we're really looking, I think I've mentioned a little bit before, but centralizing our programs, which means that instead of kind of building them from an individual basis across all the 6 hubs, we're really looking at what are the needs across all of our hubs at a core level and building out from there. And so what I mean by that is identifying really key areas that we would want to have really great activities and program materials developed for our volunteers and teams to deliver that are already created, that we know through our communications with partners are addressing specific needs. So what we're looking at is teacher training curriculum and modules, potentially conversational English curriculum and modules, a number of health, but most specifically health and hygiene specifically right now, and sanitation for what's going on. STEM has been a really big one across all of our educational partners. They're really excited about that, and we're really excited from the perspective of not just because we want to be teaching technology and engineering, but more so because of the critical thinking skills that a lot of our students don't necessarily have, and that's not something that's taught or encouraged in a lot of our programs around the world. So kind of an exciting thing to engage students on, like asking questions and saying, but why? And seeing how things actually work, trying and failing and working together to figure that out. So there's a lot of development around those activities, which would be key parts to volunteer delivery. And we're really excited to be working with our partners in this time. Normally we have volunteers here, and as exciting as that is for volunteers to be in country and to be delivering those activities, we don't always have a ton of time to sit back and reflect and strategize with our partners. And so we've been able to do that right now, which I think is going to yield much stronger and impactful programs and program delivery once we're through this process. But to engage actual communities throughout this time, 2 examples are like what I've already mentioned. So building what we called homework boxes. And so taking a couple different countries have done this now. Thailand was our flagship hub to kind of put this together and really matching what topics the Thai government wanted to be teaching during this time of school closures, and instead building these fun activities that could go home with the students that would still cover those same topics, but in a more FutureSense way. And by that I mean it's a little bit more interactive, it's more hands-on, it's less rote learning, which is just writing it down, repeating it, writing it down again, and moving on. Not a lot of interaction with the actual education. Then others are the pop-up classrooms, like I mentioned. So those are every day happening in Cambodia, morning and afternoon, engaging different students in the areas where the school centers were. And so the different students from around the village are able to kind of come to these different pop-up classrooms each day and engage in their education from their same community teachers through continued funding support with the foundation, but then also with additional support from foundation staff. And so that's been happening both Nepal and India are on the final ends of building their homework boxes to engage some of their students. I'm not sure how much you guys have kind of been following along COVID around the world, but India has taken a massive hit when it comes to the number of cases, and so they've had, they've experienced some major shutdowns, and schools are still closed. And so our kids have been pretty disengaged, and given the rural areas where our centers are there, it's hard to stay engaged with those families. And so they've started doing these remote activities, which has actually gotten so much positive response, both from the teachers and the students. And so we're just really continuing to work on that engagement. Nepal's experiencing another spike right now in numbers, which they had a really intense shutdown prior, but they didn't actually have the numbers of cases and infection at that point. And now that they have lockdown eased, the numbers have started to go back up. They thought they were going to be starting school this month, and they are not. So we're also making sure that students are able to access some type of education. And in Peru as well, really gathering some of the core Tanzania, gathering some of that core information in schools. The students are in school there. And so really just connecting with them, potentially being able to build up some teacher training materials and connect with providing additional resources in the schools there. So we don't have a ton happening in Peru at this point. But of course, as we kind of build these global programs and really develop what that can look like around the world, that will ultimately benefit everything that's happening there and in our schools that we've built a lot for there. Peru's also been struggling a lot with COVID-19, and so the schools and most operations have been kind of closed down over there, and so it's been hard to kind of gather up-to-date information. But in where we are working, there's a lot going on. It's a very pivotal point for us. I think it's been an interesting kind of silver lining in terms of kind of the atrocities that are happening around the world is awful. And not having volunteers travel and, the difficulties on our fundraising in the foundation has been really, really hard. But it's also opened up a lot of opportunities for us to reflect and re-strategize and grow what I think is to be much stronger. And so I think that's been very encouraging from a global operational perspective, but also for somebody who's been with the organization for more than 4 years, to be able to have seen growth throughout, but really to be able to kind of stand in this moment and say, this is the kind of organization that we want to be. This is what we've always been working toward. Let's make it happen now. And really actually putting in the work to make and to see that happen. And we're seeing that on the global level, but we're also seeing that on the in-country level, which I think has been really encouraging.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a really great insight into what is going on. I think I speak on behalf of everyone when that was really, really interesting, because we've kind of been a bit out of touch from it all on this side. So thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Has anyone got any questions for Sarah? I know she might have to pop off halfway through or soon. Any questions? You can pop them in the chat if you would rather not say them out loud. And if we don't answer them today, then we can answer them at a different point. Perfect. Okie dokie. So we shall move on. So this is my part now. So I'm going to talk about my fundraising journey and just go through a few top tips. So a little bit about me. I've already said for those of you that were on at the start. So I'm a student as well. I'm just going into my 3rd and final year, studying drama and English at the University of Lincoln. So I am based there as a Challenges Abroad brand ambassador. So I work directly with our teams there. So it's great to see some of you on the call. But I now also work with participants across all universities, just here to support you with your fundraising, any kind of questions that you've got. And yeah, I'm sort of on the ground team. So you could just, me and Lizzie, we kind of bounce off each other. You could ask us anything. One of us should be able to answer it. But yeah, I kind of understand what you're going through because I did it all last year. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And Lizzie calls me a fundraising guru. So that is not a self-proclaimed title or anything like that. That is Lizzie's words.
Jordan is our fundraising guru.
whatever that may mean. So my fundraising journey, I was lucky enough to have done fundraising in the past. So I've done similar trips to Thailand when I was slightly younger, and I've done other charity events. So I kind of had a solid idea of what I was wanting to do, but I understand that's not the same for everyone. But even when I signed up for Thailand, I kind of knew that this was going to be a challenge. Uni life is such a huge change already, but to then have this on top, it can sometimes feel so stressful. So I'm with you on that one. So what my plan was just to do several well thought out ideas. So this is sort of a visual of what I did. So at the top, it's something I called squares. And those of you that were at the Challenge Leader weekend last year will know all about these, but I'm going to run over them just quickly. So that was just, I sold numbers of 100 square grid. So the numbers sold for £2 each, and then randomly one got pulled out of the hat and won £20. So that was just a really interesting and quick and easy fundraiser that I just did right at the start of my journey, and it improved the engagement, and it just got people aware of what I was actually doing, and built up that audience base, which is something I'll come on to a little bit later. And then the second one was elephant, or coin elephants I called it. And essentially, because I did the Elephant and Hill Tribes trip in Thailand, I focused this one on the elephants because everyone loves elephants. So essentially, I just encourage people to fill an elephant template with 5p coins. And I just sent it to people all across the country, different groups and different organisations. And I got loads and loads of pictures back. And essentially, it was £5 donation with each elephant. Then they just uploaded that to my Virgin Money Given page. So that was great because it provided, over about 5-6 months that I run it, it provided a steady stream of donations, which worked a treat. And then lastly, the bottom one is my big fundraiser, if you like. So I walked 100 miles from my uni in Lincoln to my hometown, which is Stevenage. And so I used the smaller fundraisers just to sort of build that base of people and the interest in that kind of thing, ready to go ahead and do the big one. So that's what I'd advise doing, putting extra effort into just a few fundraisers so that then you don't have to do loads and only raise a little bit on each one. So I was quite lucky with how it panned out for me. Enough about my journey. So fundraising in a pre-COVID world. So challenge leaders, you will have from last year would have seen this at the weekend. This is what I think are probably the most important aspects of fundraising. So it sort of goes around, I don't know which way I'm on everyone's screen, but it goes around in a pattern. Creativity's first, so whichever side that is. But yeah, I think someone tried to show me there. I don't know, this side maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Wow, we'll go for this side. So yeah, essentially creativity. So that's coming up with the idea. I think it's so important to find something so different that actually interests people to get involved with. So with the creativity side, we looked at new events, fresh things that would really appeal to your target audience, and trying to find things that hadn't been done before, or maybe have been done before, but in a slightly different way. So I think that's probably the hardest part of fundraising, because so many people are doing it, and so many people are doing it for different causes and in different ways, but you've got to find your USP, if you like. That's what we'll call it. And the second one, so it's planning. This is probably the longest but the most important in my opinion, because if you plan an event well, it's more likely to go well. I always think it's so important to know it inside out, because if you seem like you're on board with it all, whenever you present it to anyone, they're going to buy into it. So yeah, for example, with the walk, I maybe worked for 5-6 months beforehand. I planned the route, I planned contacting everyone on the route, I planned a support vehicle and everything like that. So it is really important to know your whole fundraiser from start to finish, and also pick out the parts in your fundraiser that could go wrong and have plans in place for that if it did happen, which hopefully it won't. The next one is teamwork. This is so important. You need to remember that you're never alone whilst fundraising for FutureSense. There's so many of us on hand to help you out. So there's your team, there's your challenge leaders, there's other participants at different unis, there's us lot at challenges abroad, and then there's everyone at FutureSense as well. So really build your team around you. And it doesn't actually have to be people that are associated with it. So it could be family or friends. Get everyone involved, get them helping you. So for example, on my walk, my team was made up of family and friends, and they came as a support vehicle. So me and one of my friends walked the whole 100 miles, but other people drove it, and then some walked little bits with us. So it just took that whole strain of all the pressure being on me and shared it with everyone. So yes, publicity. This is another important one, and another one of my favorites actually, because you can just share the word everywhere. Don't be afraid of letting people know what you're up to, especially at the minute, because people are so desperate to find a bit of positivity or something to get on board with. So share it to your newspapers, radios, and then I'm big on social media, but we'll come to that in a little bit. But yeah, word of mouth as well. Talk to people about what you're doing, because 9 times out of 10, they'll be really interested. And then determination, just stick to it. Remember, you can do it. And yeah, just stay motivated. Yes. So next up. So share any fundraising that you have done during lockdown. So I really like to hear from just a couple of you about things you might have been doing during lockdown, any fundraising, or if you've been working and putting money towards it, or if you haven't, but you've seen someone else do something. I'd really like to hear. If anyone would please like to share. Someone. Anyone? Georgina, you must have been doing something.
How do you pick on me? Yeah, okay, I have been doing something, but it's a little bit particular. So
That's okay.
what I was doing, I mean, actually anyone can do it. You don't have to be like sciencey. I've been tutoring science kids basically. There's a few different websites online, and like some of them you can earn up to about £26 an hour on, which is what I am doing. But then I also made a deal with my old secondary school, which is probably the best one to do, that if they have kids that are getting behind and you do a certain subject, that you would help those kids out. And then what I've also done is I'm doing like meetings with like people that are wanting to go to uni, and the school pays me a little bit to do that. So yeah, that's
Nice. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for Callum, who's just popped in the chat that you got a job at Domino's and put money aside, so that's cool. Cash tips from Georgie. Lovely. Perfect. You can carry on popping them in there, and we can have a look at a later date. Thank you.
I saw a awesome idea as well, which I think was from Amber in Bangor. Who are you there, Amber?
Yeah, I'm here. I just finished work.
Well, I did just see the time. I thought, oh, hopefully you're there. Was it your fundraising? Was it you who was doing the face masks?
Yeah, so my mum was like, let's make some face masks for our family. And then we were like, Mum, these are pretty good. You know how to make them. We might be able to sell them. And it actually turned out great. So that's what we've been doing, like profit. We've been doing about 20% profit, and we've got about £200 raised so far from them. So that's been really good.
So awesome, and it's so great that you absolutely tapped into the current situation and turned it into a positive. We were all so impressed by the face mask initiative, and that's something that everyone can do. And yeah, have a sewing session with your family and get making face masks to sell.
That's the way forward.
Thanks, Amber.
No worries.
Anyone else got anything before we move on? No, perfect. We shall move on. So, fundraising top tip number 1. So it's really important for you to have a purpose and know your purpose for fundraising, and really be passionate about that. So it's fantastic what Sarah just shared with us all So use that as your USP. Take moments of what Sarah was saying and sell that for why you're doing your fundraising and to your supporters. And then that's going to have a huge impact both on you, but also them. So also do your own research, have a little look into the charity and find out certain facts that interest you in particular, and either include that in your fundraising or just speak about it, word of mouth. For me, it was a fact about education. I think Lizzie told me it. And it was the number of people that we support, or FutureSense support, in, I think it was Cambodia. The amount of people that aren't supported by the government but get education provided by ours. I don't know, Sarah, you might be able to add a little bit onto that.
Yeah, the students in Cambodia only receive half a day of education in primary school, and oftentimes it's expected that they receive supplementary education on top of that to really ensure, you know, solid academic outcomes. But for majority of the families that we're working with, that's a paid option that isn't an option because it costs some money. And so our biggest program that we run in Cambodia is providing free supplementary education to a lot of the students who are struggling in school, but also who are coming from families who just don't have the money to access that education.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, that was what really stunned me, and I told everyone about it, and maybe that's why I am a fundraising guru, I don't know. But yeah, I really recommend using those kind of facts and just pushing on the change that you're actually going to make. And actually, it will benefit your supporters in the way that they'll then feel like they're going to make a difference as well. So it helps everyone out. That's number one. Fundraising top tip number 2 is build your audience. So this goes back to social media, like I was speaking about before. And COVID world has definitely shown us the importance and benefits of social media. As soon as you put your page out there and share it into your communities virtually, you have a captive audience. Invite them to follow your journey, and then you can share everything with them, everything in the lead up and everything while you're out there as well. So I'd really recommend, if you haven't already, making like a Facebook page. So mine was called Jordan's Thailand Fundraising, and I just put absolutely everything on there. I did like weekly updates, that kind of thing, and people ended up being really interested in it. And it means that you don't have to clog up your own social media with all your fundraising that you're doing, but actually only those people that want to see what you're doing then see what you're doing. Yeah, and people have turned to social media more so than ever now, so use that to your advantage. Share your Virgin Money giving page, just do it weekly, just let people know how you're doing, how your targets are coming along, and then share all your fundraisers, and then get your friends and family to share your posts as well, because all the algorithms of Facebook will make it all lost. So just keep on sharing it, and then it will get everywhere. And for me, also, word of mouth is so important. Just talk to people about what you're doing. And it goes back to what Sarah was saying, the facts about FutureSense, really use them, because they will amaze people. They'll let them know what change you are going to make. Yes, so that is number 2. Lizzie, do you want to jump in?
Nope.
Oh, okay. You look ready.
No, I was just breathing.
Number 3, this is probably my favourite motto when it comes to fundraising, and I used it a lot at the Challenge Leader weekend. Think outside the box, and it's so hard to do that when our box has now been shrunk to just virtual life. But you've got to find that fundraiser that stands out from the crowd. And as I said before, if you can't find that one, then you find one and make it stand out from the crowd. So be creative, be innovative, be new and be fresh. And yeah, be daring. It's okay if an idea that you thought was going to do amazing doesn't do that great, because there might be another one that you thought was just going to be a small one and it actually turns out to be huge. So try everything. Do whatever you need to and just stick to it. Put all your efforts into it. Yeah, so it's important now more than ever to try and find those that stick out. Before, it might have been do an online fundraiser because that will stand out from everyone else. Everyone else is doing this, that. They're all doing bake sales. They're all doing coffee mornings. So I'm going to do something online. But now everyone's moved online. So now we need to find this new fresh ground in the online world. I always find it really interesting to think about what fundraiser would interest me. So what kind of thing I'd see on social media and think, oh yeah, I'll get involved in that. So tailor your fundraising ideas to your audience. So if you're gonna hit your uni friends, aim for something that's going to interest them. It might be a raffle where the prize is a case of beer or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, really try and target who's going to see it the most, because then you're more likely to get more success. But Jordan, that's easier said than done. I didn't really know what to title this slide, and that's kind of what I felt. So it's titled, but Jordan, that's easier said than done. So I've put together just a few little ideas of what you could be doing as a virtual fundraiser. Obviously, we've already heard from Georgina, who is tutoring, and Amber, who made face masks, which are all fantastic. Oh, and Callum, who got the Domino's job. Brilliant. But things like virtual quiz nights. Okay, admittedly, so many people are bored of them now, but you have to make it different. This is what I'm saying about making it stand out from the crowd. So you could do one based on the country that you're going to, or I don't know, just something that links to your trip or links to you personally. Yeah, so virtual sponsored walk or run. A lot of them have been done again, but if you make it relevant to you, so the distance, for example, if you're going to Thailand, you might look at the distance between Bangkok and Chiang Mai and do a sponsored run virtually in a month, that kind of thing, and just get sponsors in. Online skills classes, I suppose that kind of links to yours, Georgina, but if you have a skill that you could maybe share with others, baking or craft, or yeah, tutoring, if you're especially good in a certain subject, maybe offer that out. Bingo night, raffle, lottery is kind of similar to my Squares fundraiser. Just get people to put a little bit in and then make it so that they win something as well. People tend to like that. And then lastly, Virgin Money Giving. So you've all got your pages, but they have just teamed up with Zifit, which is the organisation where you can sell old like books, games and films. All the details are on the page, and if you want to chat about that a bit more, just message me or Lizzie and we can talk through it. But yeah, it's a really good way of A, decluttering your house, and B, all the money that you make goes straight into your fundraising page, so it cuts out that middleman, if you like, and you don't have to worry as much. So yeah, there's just a few ideas there. There's loads more, but I've got to keep it. Top tip number 4. Make the most of the time that you have. Use these weird times to your advantage. So many of us have more free time now than we've had in years, and then we're probably going to have for the next year, those of us that are going back to uni. But yeah, challenge yourself to use some of that towards your fundraising. Even if it's just sharing your Virgin page or planning a fundraiser, or even if it's just getting in touch with fellow participants or me or Lizzie and just chatting things over. And actually, yeah, normal events take ages to plan. And it's something that I touched on earlier, and you have to think about absolutely everything, especially if you're looking at venues and food and everything like that. But actually, at the minute, you don't have to worry about any of that. Admittedly, you have to worry about other things, but they're probably going to be less worrying than a normal event. So make the most of it. Do a virtual event and say you fundraise through COVID. That's pretty cool. Number 5, stay connected. So that's connected with your teams, with your challenge leaders, with fellow participants, with us at Challenges Abroad, with those at FutureSense, all of us. Just keep in touch. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know how we can help you. We are always on hand to help in any way that we can. Even if you just need a chat or any questions, just answering, that's absolutely fine. And yeah, lastly, get involved. So we are launching a few new fundraising support kind of things. So yeah, I'd really encourage you to get involved with these. I'm going to let Lizzie now go ahead and cover them, but they're there, so make the most of it, because hopefully it will help you a lot. Lizzie.
Great, thanks, Jordan. That's been really helpful, and even I've got some new ideas. One thing I would say, just following on from that, is I'm not sure about you guys and where you all live, but in the town that I live in, COVID has just brought everyone together. There's so much more of a community spirit than there used to be. You know, we have a community WhatsApp group, and our road has actually started fundraising on that. And if you've got something like that going, post in your WhatsApp group, I'm planning a raffle, has anyone got any prizes that they could donate? And you'll be really surprised what people might come up with. So just think about, actually, how has COVID brought everyone together, and how can you use that? But yeah, I'm here now to just tell you a little bit about some of the new support that we're going to be bringing in with the FutureSense Foundation for the year ahead. We are absolutely devastated that we had to postpone all of our trips. I can't imagine how gutted you guys must have felt. I was gutted. I can't wait for you guys to go out on your challenges. It's really exciting that we're now at a point where we can start to look ahead and slowly get excited about traveling again. Next slide, Jordan. Thanks. So the first thing that we're kind of launching with the FutureSense Foundation is FutureSense Fundraising Fridays. There are going to be 5 preset fundraising Fridays, and these are going to be events that we will organise, or we will help your challenge leaders organise. So they're going to be things like bag packing, street collections. We want to organise like a mass bonkers bingo night, a big quiz. We've got a few things in the pipeline. Just keep an eye out for these, because as time goes on, we're going to be sending you more information. It's really exciting. Keep a lookout, and yeah, just keep your ear out for it. But also, please start your own fundraising Friday events, and tag us using the hashtag FSF Fundraising Fridays. And yeah, we'd love to see what you get up to. All new fundraising pack. We've been working really hard with FutureSense over the past couple of months to update our fundraising pack, so it's more what you guys need, and hopefully will be a lot more helpful. This is going to be emailed out to you in a few weeks' time. Please, again, keep an eye out for it. It's going to have loads of different ideas in. I've had to adapt it a bit to make it a bit more virtual. And yeah, give it a read, because it's taken us a long time to put together, and I hope that someone will read it. But again, it has got loads of ideas and just some more guides. It's all right us throwing the ideas at you, but we want to guide you on how to run the event successfully as well. Tailor-made fundraising plans. We know that fundraising isn't a one-size-fits-all, and even though we can give you ideas, sometimes it can be difficult for you to think, oh, actually, but what idea can I come up with? What unique thing can I come up with? We want to help you make your own tailor-made fundraising plan. You'll get an email from myself or Jordan inviting you to do this. So please take us up on it. You're not going to get in trouble if you haven't done any fundraising. I think it's really important to remember that we're here to support you rather than to moan at you for not fundraising. We want you to hit your targets as much as you guys do. We want you to get out into your destination. So help us, let us help you. And yeah, together we can make you some really, really good fundraising plans and set you up for the year ahead. I know time has given us, we have got time at the moment, and putting pause on a few things has just enabled us to just sit back and go, okay, look, I was actually nowhere near reaching my fundraising target. I don't really know how I would have hit it. Thank goodness I've got another 6 months. I've got another year now to plan it all out, to do loads of events and hit my fundraising target. Which leads us on to our one-to-one fundraising sessions. I believe Jordan has already contacted you about these, but please have a one-to-one with us. We're here to help. Jordan, do you want to explain a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so kind of following on from what Lizzie was saying about the tailor-made plans, we completely get it. It's not one size fits all. I saw that when I was fundraising, and that's why we brought this in, so that we make it down individual to each of you. So if, for example, you know you're going to have a really busy period during November and December with uni, that's fine, because we'll know about it so we can work around it. Yeah, and it's also going to be the easiest opportunity to ask any questions you've got. Me and Lizzie, we're not too scary. You can ask anything, and one of us should be able to answer it. So yeah, please just book in on them. I'm going to send a email around in the next few days, just inviting from next week sort of time, and book on, and we'll just chat, and yeah, we'll just help out where we can. And if you feel like you need a second one after the first one, that's okay. We could do another one as well. It's not like only one in the year. They're not limited. Yeah. So have you got anything else, Lizzie?
No, I think I just want to emphasise that we are here to help you, and to thank you all for your continued support as well. Thank you for still being here, for still wanting to go out next summer, and for being so patient with us whilst we've tried to get our heads around things, because I'm sure you can appreciate it hasn't been an easy few months, but together and as a community we're getting there, and we're looking forward to the year ahead, and I'm just so excited for you all to be able to travel again. I'm excited to be able to travel again.
Yes. Sarah, have you got anything to add?
Not necessarily anything specific, but yeah, just wanting to kind of make the connection with all of you and make sure you know that I mean, you're in great hands with the Challenges Abroad team, but that there's also a direct link between Challenges Abroad and FutureSense. We all are working for the same shared goal, and so just making sure you guys know you have access to the FutureSense team via the Challenges Abroad team, because we're all the same team and we talk fairly regularly. So if you're needing any kind of support or further information, you can get it.
Perfect, thank you. So we have moved on to questions. I know that some of you have questions, so don't hold back. Just hit us with them, please. So I know.
Yeah, you said that Virgin Money fundraiser page are linked up with a company. What was the name of the company? Because I missed it.
Zip,
afraid.
which is
Zip. Okay.
It's ZIFFIT.
All right, brilliant, thank you. Because that's quite a good way, and I know I could go around a few people and be like, I can help declutter your house and fundraise same sort of time. Because I know a lot of people have done that over the quarantine period. So
yeah, it is good.
That's a really good idea, and I've been like selling stuff on Depop. That's always a really good one. And also there are places where you can donate stuff and they'll pay you based on the weight of the donation bags. Can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but I saw one the other day. Have a look out for them as well, because if you offer to take a lot of stuff from neighbours and family and friends, you might end up being able to get a good way in.
Yeah, thank you.
So Francesca's asked, in terms of buckets and things for fundraising, any way that we can get them? Lizzie?
Yes, we've got loads of new buckets and shakers. Yeah, I'm probably, Fran, going to post a load up to Georgina. I'll check in with you, because if you're not going back up to St Andrews and you need one sent to your house, we can get that sorted. So yes, we can send you more buckets and shakers and things like that. Yeah.
Just let us know if you need anything, because most things we can manage, but you've got to let us know so we can do it.
Yeah, if we don't know, we can't help you.
With anything. Perfect. Any other questions? Katie and Lucy, do you have any questions for anyone who was maybe signed up this year? Because Katie and Lucy are 2 challenge leaders for next year. I don't know if there's any other for next year in here.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't think so either.
Fair enough. Anyone else? If not, we shall end there. But like I say, email us with any questions you've got, or if you want to chat. These are some next steps for you. I'd really encourage you to all book in a one-to-one, and also encourage your teams to book them in. I think they're going to be really useful, and it'll be useful for me to get to know you all a little bit more as well. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining this afternoon. It's been good fun. I'm going to stop this now so we can see everyone. But yeah, that's all from me. Lizzie, have you got anything else to say?
No, I don't think so. If anyone does have any concerns or questions,